Thank you, and good evening. Welcome in my hometown, which makes me a bit more emotional than needed. So there is a very mundane narrative that we need to discuss, and a narrative according to which 2024 was a very bad year for sustainability, and 2025 is even worse. Now, I will try to reverse this narrative, and the question is, was it? And is it true that 2024 is the year of the crisis of sustainability with all the backlash, the anti-corporate reaction, all the bad things Donald Trump said about sustainability and the planet and society, and of course the Deregulation Act from the European Commission heavily deregulating all the sustainability nice things that we tried to do in the last 3 years, and so this is the negative part, and the past 10 years were the so-called golden age of sustainability, where sustainability was an imperative, impact was an imperative, and everybody was talking about sustainability and impact. My narrative is the last 10 years have been the worst years for sustainability in the history of the industrialized world. And the story is that we need to look at the long run of sustainability. We need to look at things in the long run. And basically, I don't think I need to remind you that the first model of corporation, the first model of entrepreneurship was based on slavery, or quasi-slavery. And, for example, that the huge success of the Italian oil and gas industry in the 1950s was based on the heavy pollution of Porto Marghera, polluting the lagoon in front of Venice. Now, there has been a trajectory, and if you look at the debate in the late 19th century, when policymakers were trying to convince entrepreneurs not to use slaves to be productive, the debate is exactly the same of the debate today. The answer was there is a trade-off, and if you do not allow us to create economic value without slaves or children workers in the Manchester Industrial Revolution, we will not be able to deliver economic value. And if you don't let us exploit the planet, we will not be able to produce economic value. At the end of the day, in the centennial trajectory of sustainability, enterprises, corporations were able to deliver economic value with a different use of productivity factors, with a wiser use of the human workforce and a fairer use of the planet. And what's the name of this trajectory? What is the name of this perpetual effort to shift the trade-off, so to produce economic value without exploiting the planet and the people? The name is sustainability. So we have been having sustainability for the last 150 years after the Industrial Revolution. And my point is that the present interpretation of sustainability in the last 10 years was actually a pause in our sustainability efforts and not a hype in sustainability. The reason why I think it's a pause, because the two ingredients that have allowed us to shift the trade-off in 150 years were a clear policy vision and regulation and innovation, the two factors that have been missing in the last 10 years. Why? Because in the previous 150 years, we were well aware that the trade-off was there, and we have been discussing about the trade-off between impact and profit, or between purpose and profit, or between sustainability and profit. What we have been doing in the last 10 years, in the golden age of sustainability, was to forget about the trade-off, or to try to convince ourselves that trade-off was not there, and doing something good for the planet and for society was also good for profit, which was an intellectual scam. And why is that? Well, the story of the hanging fruits of sustainability, I think that we can describe the sustainability objectives in different ways. and it's like a tree with all the generic fruit. The fruits are the generic sustainability objectives. And they are described from the lower fruits to the higher fruits, from the relationship between profit and impact. You have objectives in which profit and impact are actually aligned and are easy to accomplish. And there are objectives that are higher in the tree. That means that impact and profit are basically opposite or rival. In the so-called golden age of sustainability, we have been cherry-picking the low-hanging fruits, the easy ones, and the not transformative ones, and we have avoided, we have dodged the difficult ones, the ones in which we had to deal with the trade-off between profit and impact. The story is, in an example, because I was told I need to keep it very, very short. The story is, if you address the general manager of an insurance corporation and you ask him whether his company is sustainable or not, he will tell you, yes, I am the most sustainable company in the world. In fact, I do not print contract on paper, so I save the trees. In fact, I promote young women with talent to top managerial position. In fact, I'm not using plastic bottle but water dispensers. And a number of things in which profit and impact are perfectly aligned. Because if you do have young, talented women and that are not in top managerial position, good for you if you promote them. But when you ask him, are you offering a life insurance to chronic diabetes patients? He will say, no, I am not. Why? Because it's a high-hanging fruit. Because there is a trade-off that he does not want to face, or she does not want to face. Innovation is there because purpose is, at the end of the day, the courage to offer a life insurance to a chronic diabetes patient. And the moment you offer the life insurance to a chronic diabetes patient, you will activate the dynamic capabilities of your company, you will become innovative, and you will be able to align profit and impact. This is the narrative that I think we should use and put in innovation again, also technological innovation again, at the center of the stage. Therefore, I don't think impact investing is serious stuff. I don't think sustainability efforts are serious stuff if you don't use innovation as a disintermediating factor between profit and impact. Without innovation, there is no transformative impact, there is no transformative sustainability, and it's useless that you change the name and you reframe the narrative and you call impact investing systemic investing. It will not be transformative if innovation is not there at the center of the stage. Now, innovation is the solution. Yes, I think we need to use purpose to have the courage to put innovation at the center of the stage and to align impact and profit. But this is good news. Innovation is a solution. Bad news, innovation is no longer the same innovation that we have been knowing in the last 100 years. And the innovation that we have been teaching, me personally, in technical schools to future engineers or IT experts or whatever. Because we have been teaching people to innovate in a world of infinite resources and very loose constraints. We need to move to a different innovation model where the constraints are there are finite resources, and very, very tight constraints, which is a completely different innovation model. Now, my point is that we are doing exactly the opposite, because we are here trying to discuss new governance models, new entrepreneurial models, beautiful social enterprises initiatives, but then, in the room next door, we have people designing a technology that will disrupt and destroy any effort that we are doing in the direction of having a better world through our impact investing models. Why? Because the current innovation trajectory is basically three things: greedy, purposeless, and sociopathic. I think it's very easy. Greedy means very greedy of resources. The easy example is what's happening in artificial intelligence. And there, it's the important message for social entrepreneurs all over the world, I think. Artificial intelligence is the typical example of greedy innovation trajectory. And we are moving along a trajectory that is greedy by definition. And we all have the false expectation that this is a predetermined trajectory. It's actually a path of discovery. Now, the fact is that innovation is not a discovery. You always have different trajectories with different characteristics, and you can always choose between trajectories. Now, for example, the artificial intelligence trajectory is based on the fact that artificial intelligence is designed with the main purpose of replicating, of mimicking the human brain. And this makes artificial intelligence substitutional and not generative. And this is a particular technological trajectory. Now I think that the main duty of the social entrepreneurship community and the impact investing community is not to give up on determining the trajectory of artificial intelligence and all of the relevant trajectories. Because if we abdicate, if we give up on having our words, our say, on the nature of the technology, we will find ourselves with beautiful entrepreneurial models, but with a technology that is bound to destroy any effort towards impact and a better world. Purposeless, I think that this is the other thing. We need directionality. You want to understand what is a purpose-driven or a directional technology? Read the speech from J.F. Kennedy in 1963 when he explained why the United States wanted to land a man on the moon. The technological reasons why the United States wanted to land a man on the moon. And read the motivation that are offered by Elon Musk on why he wants to bring the man on Mars. And you will understand what a huge difference makes having a purpose, a vision, a directionality in the design of technology and in the mission you assign to yourself, and on the contrary, a profit-driven technological trajectory. And third, the sociopathic innovation. Sociopathic innovation means a very simple thing. Sociopathic innovation is innovating without even trying to anticipate the unintended consequences of technology. Now, take the sharing economy models, Airbnb or the food delivery models. What is the story there? The story there is that these business models are based on the purest, on a very pure DNA of social innovation. What is more social than sharing food or sharing your house? Now, the moment this beautiful DNA, social DNA, meets technology, it becomes the most rotten form of capitalism. There is something wrong. And this is a problem for social innovators. Because we have been very distracted and very absent-minded. Because our model, our beautiful idea of the business model based on sharing principles, when they meet technology and we haven't put enough attention to designing governance system that would drive the technology in the right direction. So what are the characteristics of innovation and technology that we need to have? And I think that this model of innovation and new models of management of innovation are today more relevant than governance models that we have given a lot of attention in the last 20 years. We need anticipatory innovation. That means explicitly taking care of the future unintended consequences of innovation and basing the design of products and services on the imagination of desirable futures. We are designing technology based on a very restricted space that is the space of our problems. We need to learn to design innovation according to desirable futures that do not exist, but we need to imagine. Directional, I've already spent a few words, and then, of course, frugally. Frugal artificial intelligence is a very concrete alternative to the greedy artificial intelligence models that we have today. And without frugal intelligence, frugal artificial intelligence, there is no sustainable development model. So one final word, because this is flashing in a very frightening mode. Take the other example, the other technological trajectory. We have a very clear technological trajectory in the air conditioning. That is, the air conditioning paradox, cooling our way to a warmer world. It is the most clear example, the clearest example of vicious circle in technology, right? We use air conditioning that now wastes more or less the energy of the United Kingdom and Brazil. And we have a technology that is on a trajectory. Our engineers are working along these trajectories. The financial people are putting their money along this trajectory. But this trajectory is clearly going against a wall. And it is on a dead end, clearly. So what shall we do? What is frugal high tech? Is it putting plastic bottle, cutting the bottom of the plastic bottle in our walls like these two guys in rural India, so that, according to the Venturi principle, there is some kind of frugal air cooling? Or shall we copy the termites mouths that have designed their mouths, their houses, so to keep the temperature constant in the desert, or other very frugal suggestion? No, this is not the solution. I don't think that Luddism is bringing us anywhere. But paying a short visit to these people and understand what their mindset is, and applying this mindset to our high-tech capabilities is the solution. But it requires a complete reshuffle of our innovation management models. Therefore, the J.F. Kennedy sentence was very, very enlightening, and there was a beautiful motivation and vision for the United States to land a man on the moon, but there was an even smarter sentence from an economist called Dick Nelson. If we can land a man on the moon, why can't we solve the problem of the ghetto? That means we cannot give up on having our say on future technological trajectories. Thank you very much.